So Sarah, she gives a speech in Hong Kong, which is broadly praised, while Urkel is being hugged and praised by Castro and Gaddafi. Sarah Palin slams the economic disaster here in America and Urkel's policies without naming him directly, and then praises Reagan and Thatcher. She then went on to describe her political philosophy as common sense conservatism. Now, some people are, one of the Euro delegates called the speech brilliant, that she was brilliant, and that there's some wondering with what she said that she is staking out a more of a libertarian, more of a small c conservative position. Now, considering there has been no definition other than the liberalization of conservatism. And, this is where people are saying, well, why do we have to have these words before conservatism? Well, because the Bushes have really screwed it up. When George H.W. Bush said that his was a compassionate conservatism, that was the beginning of this attempt to smash you into being liberals. And it also, of course, that phrase inferred that regular conservatism was not compassionate. Let me tell you what's not compassionate. Enslaving people with debt. That's not compassionate. And that's what George W. Bush started. Conservatism, by its nature, is the compassionate thing. It keeps people free. That's what matters. Sarah Palin, common sense conservatism. Yes, it is reminding people, as she then praised Thatcher and Reagan. What she's doing is not adding another kind of descriptor. She is erasing this so-called compassionate conservatism oxymoron. No, it's redundant. But it's not oxymoron. It's a redundancy. It's a redundancy. And people liked it. I've got a little bit of audio here where she explains Main Street USA in her Hong Kong speech. Not sure of levels here, but we're gonna start right out here. I'm not sure of the quality of this, but here we go.
News from around New England and the world on the News at 9.
Here's a local station's coverage. Somehow they have it. Here we go. It's raw audio. It's a video of people walking around.
And diversity of ideas and opportunities to discuss those ideas. No doubt that's why he invited me, because he knows that I'm going to call it like I see it, and I will share with you candidly a view kind of from Main Street USA, and how perhaps my view of Main Street, representing perhaps a lot of other people, how that affects you and your business.
Learned from her the last year's campaign.
I'm sure she's astute. I'm sure she's taken some type of... she's taken enough criticism where she, at this point, she would definitely try to learn a little bit in her mistakes. So I think she's learned, I won't say how much she's learned, but she's going to be careful on that point as well.
Okay.
What we've heard in these conferences time and time again, ever since the credit crisis, is that the United States is finished. And I think, she had a very positive message for people about America's ability to, heal itself, but by using an alternative path, which was the path created by Ronald Reagan. And for some people, that is an attractive option.
Well, compared to what's happened, it is the only option, and it is the option that has worked. Historically, we know it works. It's like you've got two cars. One's filled up with gasoline, one's filled up with water. Both have gasoline engines. Which car do you think is going to work? This is not a debate. What you heard from Sarah was taken from a cell phone, was audio from a cell phone, because, again, there was no press there. And then some attendees, of course, delegates there, with a reasonable point of view of the woman. And in her speech, let me give you some of the details for those who did get larger elements. She said that the U.S. government was wasting taxpayers' money and could aggravate poverty. She gave what's termed the hundreds of financial big hitters at the Investors Forum a wide-ranging speech that covered Alaska, international terrorism, U.S. economic policy, and trade with China. One European delegate said she was brilliant. She said America was spending a lot of money and it was a temporary solution. Normal people are having to pay more and more, but things don't get better. The rich will leave the country and the poor will get poorer. She also praised the economic policies of President Reagan, criticized the current administration without naming Obama, by the way, for intervening too much during the recent financial crisis. Yeah. One delegate said from the United States it was fairly right-wing populist stuff. Well, welcome to what makes the world function. Welcome to what keeps people free. Welcome to the ideas that allow people to remain financially independent, that keep government off people's backs, which means keeps things operating and functional, and keeps people free. Another delegate from the United States said, she frightens me because she strikes a chord with a certain segment of the population. I don't like it. Yeah, she strikes a chord with the majority segment of the population. And if you are a leftist, and if you don't trust in human nature, or in Americans in particular, you should be frightened right now. What frightens the left is the fact that people like Reagan and people who apply Reagan's policies and someone like Sarah Palin isn't like them and proves them wrong time and time again. Time and time again. She did a great job. And of course, I'm not quite sure, you'll hear this, and including whatever she does for the next several years, the only attack on Palin will be the attack that's been the attack on women in both sides of the aisle forever, is that she's stupid, she doesn't know enough. Well, just like the racism accusation, that's going to get old really fast. Really fast. She said at one point, we're not interested in government fixes, we're interested in freedom. She said liberalism holds that there is no human problem that government can't fix if only the right people are put in charge. While she did not refer to Obama by name, she said his campaign promises were nebulous, utopian sounding. Now, 10 months later, though, a lot of Americans are asking, more government? Is that the change we want? In other areas, she criticized Pelosi for speaking skeptically about the need for more troops in Afghanistan. She said, Afghanistan is where the 9/11 attacks are planned, and if we are not successful there, Al-Qaeda will find a safe haven there again. Dare I say that Sarah Palin is sounding presidential? Dare I say that? I think I will dare. I think I will dare. I want you to compare this, and then we'll go to a small musical interlude. To Sarah Palin's complaint and correct accusation that government is not the solution to our problems, that Barack Obama wants more government and big government. And we've got it directly from Urkel himself. One element from that David Letterman show the other night, which I now want to play for you, has Barack Obama complaining specifically that we have had too little government. You know, it's interesting. What caused the mortgage collapse was the creation by the Clintons of the Community Redevelopment Act and intervention and regulation by the government telling banks that, and giving banks a list of what they had to do and who they had to give loans to no matter what, that if they did not give loans to people in the inner city who could not afford them, they would be punished. That is called regulation and governmental interference. And the reason the Clintons wanted to do that, and that liberals loved the Community Redevelopment Act, and that George W. Bush continued it, is because liberal policies as implemented by government leave the disenfranchised behind. They create bigger problems, and this was an artificial way to try to bring the inner city back up, because liberal policies have made the inner city worse. And this is what we got. In other words, they were trying to paint over the mess, plaster it a little bit with maybe some of that weird, maybe paper mache something. Paper mache a house and said, oh, look how great that looks. And it's going to collapse. It's going to have to. But that's what they were doing, artificially fixing the mess that liberal policies have put everyone in the inner city in by handing out free stuff. And what happens? It collapsed.